There's a really good lecture given by Vladimir Isaac Arnold, very, very, very prominent 20th century Russian mathematician. Okay? Student of Kolmogorov, if I'm butchering that pronunciation correctly, in the whole Russian school, which was one of the, or maybe the deepest school of mathematics in the world. And he gave a lecture in France in the very late 90s. He lived into the 20th century. I think he's dead. He'd be really old if he isn't. I don't remember exactly. They didn't invite me to the funeral. So maybe he's still alive, but I don't think he's very active right now. He did a lot of great stuff. And he was associated with Gelfand, who's also one of the great mathematicians of the century. And maybe my favorite author of school-level mathematics and college-level mathematics. And more advanced, I've got some of his more advanced texts. You know, there's a linear algebra text. I'd love to have time to work through because there's a whole lot of stuff in there I didn't have a clue about. Really advanced stuff, neat stuff. Okay, anyhow, these guys are great mathematicians. Now he gave a lecture in France because he was, he had a lecture, he was lecturing in France for a year or two or something, okay? And I think he actually ended up, maybe it was Gelfand, ended up at Rutgers University here for several years. And I think that's where he might have ended his career, I'm not sure. Anyhow, he goes up to these French mathematicians who had their school, which was at the time the Bourbaki school. And the Bourbaki school said, you just divorce mathematics from reality and you just prove everything from axioms, which was incidentally kind of the philosophy of my graduate school, which doesn't fit real well with the way I like or need to approach things since I started in physics. Okay? Well, first thing he said is mathematics is a branch of physics. Okay? And then he said, basically, and what you guys have done is divorced mathematics from physics and from geometry. And then he went on to point out all the really deep things that are going on in mathematics I don't understand. Okay? I mean, a lot of them I do, but most of them go beyond anything I've done. It wasn't my field. But these guys knew, because these guys are world-famous mathematicians too. And he's just basically telling them, you divorced mathematics from geometry and physics and engineering. You guys can feel good too, okay? And you're just full of it. Now, it goes on for several pages, but I think maybe I'll post that or email it, because it's kind of worth reading. You won't necessarily, I mean, you certainly won't understand the deeper mathematical references, but just seeing his wicked sense of humor and his wicked way of telling these guys that what they were doing was totally off the wall, okay? Yeah, it wasn't totally off the wall. In that graduate program, I learned how to move from axiom to proof very, very well. Never learned what anything meant, but I knew enough physics to know that it meant something and went into a field where I could use that intuition. Okay? Yeah, you guys are going into a field, probably engineering, where you get even more tangible. Okay? So it's kind of an interesting connection.